We are live.
Welcome to Pillage Overload.
Hello.
Say hello to my little friend.
As we're sitting here making fun of each other in the background.
You might notice there's something on the bar tonight that doesn't belong here.
Let's not play Captain Obvious there. We are on. And we are on before...
Who's here? Nobody's here.
No one's here at the moment.
God, we gotta talk to a camera.
We gotta talk
fine.
to a camera. Talk to a cannon. Talk to a camera. Talk to a cannon. Comments.
So, Cannon, how you doing today? Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Well,
glad you could make the trip.
It's gonna be... Who the hell is trying to call me on my work number at 8 o'clock at night?
Oh, no.
Hey there, Glenster.
Hi, Glenn. Welcome to the show,
welcome
buddy.
To Pillage Overload. So we were commenting it's probably going to be light because there's three main places that we get people watching us from here in Virginia, Florida, here in Virginia. So
there's a couple in California.
And
but
if you haven't noticed, Florida's kind of
having issues right now.
Washed.
They're a little moist down there.
They're a little moist
and windy.
So we got 4 people on.
Hi, 4 people.
Hello, 4 people. So and I wanted to make sure this week that we started on time with the initializing. I finally figured out it takes about 2 minutes and clicking and clickety click click click
and blah 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 blah. So can I help you? Yes, the microphone is
Just
on.
Just making sure moist.
I made sure earlier.
Glenn was moist. We're very moist. Very moist.
We say moist. We don't say the R word.
We don't use R.
Well,
hi, Bobo.
Not that R. The other R.
Hi. Hi, Bo.
Hi, Bo.
Hi, Bo.
Welcome to the Cannon Show.
Welcome to Cannon Show. Welcome to Episode 5 of Season 11, Thunder and Steel. It is September 26th of 2024, if you have not figured that out.
Episode 6?
No, 5.
Season 24. Just in case you were keeping track.
No, with you, it's never keeping track. So, tonight's drink is not a drink, it is a shot.
Ha.
Get it?
Ha,
shot.
ha.
Cannon shot.
Ha ha ha.
Shooter. It's a shooter.
Shooter.
So this is called...
Joffrey, lower the gate.
It's also called a kamikaze, which is the irony of that. I found it ironic.
It is kind of ironic since kamikazes committed suicide.
Yeah. And
they didn't shoot anything.
No. They were the bomb. They were the cannon. They were the...
They were the bomb.
They were the projectile of the cannon.
They were the bomb.
But the kamikaze is 1 ounce of light rum, 1/4 ounce of triple sec, the splash of lime juice.
Should I hold mine up too?
See.
Hi.
And then I had to find new shot glasses because the other ones would be too small.
So we got our Hard Rock shot glasses.
San Diego for our friends in California, and he has Florida. So
we are not sponsored by Hard Rock.
We are not sponsored by anything. We
just have shot glasses.
We are sponsored by any of these alcohols, not by City Gates, not by anything.
We sponsor this cannon, though.
Is that a cannon on the desk, or are you happy to see us? Steve Manuel.
Both.
He's happy. Happy.
Say hello to my little friend.
Shooter. All right, let's shoot the shooter.
Shoot, yeah, come on. Woo. It's not bad. No? A little too citrusy for you?
I don't even think it's citrusy. It tastes like nail polish.
That's why we don't drink Bacardi.
That isn't Bacardi.
I thought the Bacardi Gold was
No,
in there.
that was for the soup I didn't make tonight.
Oh.
That was the spicy soup. I was going to make spicy tomato soup. That's what that was for.
Well, whatever's in that sucks.
Yeah. It's the Margaritaville light rum.
Oh.
And we know how much we like the Margaritaville because they had the margarita. Oh no, that was Parrot Bay.
Yeah.
The Parrot Bay coconut. Oh my God. So
that stuff was strong.
It was just I like coconut. I love coconut.
It's a very powerful.
But it's just woo. It says, "Who's your daddy?" Steven says, "My face says it all." I know. It tasted like nail polish.
Overall rating. Awful. I'm not gonna order a kamikaze when I'm in a restaurant. You can't move that away from me because I'm quieter.
You're learning to project. All right, so
let's draw a drink for next week.
But we also have next week.
Well, if you weren't
paying attention,
I mean, if you didn't make the drink along with us, congratulations, because it sucked.
Oh, it's more of a shot. Shooter. It's a shooter.
Shooter.
What do we got?
Steel pan.
That's
actually what it says.
Cool name.
Steel pan.
You know what steel pan
is the drink. She's going to look it up and see what it is.
Oh, I guess we got to go shopping.
There's lots of stuff we don't have again.
Passion fruit vodka.
Ooh.
White rum.
Yeah, where are we going to find that?
Passion fruit juice. I don't know. Bo's on. Bo. We have a new.
Track us down some passion fruit rum, Bo.
We got a new.
So we can pick it up at your house this weekend. Or go get it somewhere.
But yeah, or
order it.
It's called Steel.
They probably sell it on Amazon. Sorry.
No, you can't. No,
I'm
kidding. Not how that works. Steel pan. So that's an interesting drink. St. Croix. Hey, St. Croix. If you guys were on the show last week, that's where John Bauer lived for a little bit.
Yeah.
Our co-founder of Talk Like a Pirate Day. Hey. So when our guests next week, if you've been paying attention, so next week we got Captain Jay Tucci on the show. We'll share it with him and see if he will join us on it. But because it's such unique alcohol, I don't know if he'll be doing it. So we are not sponsored by anybody. We're not sponsored by this book, although we've been using it like
we barely even sponsor ourselves.
Jeez. We are just poor, humble pirates.
We're humble pirates.
Humble pirates. So, speaking of last week's show, what St. Croix, John Bauer. Oh my God, that was so much fun.
It was fun.
So I ended up taking the clip of John wishing my mother-in-law happy birthday, and he sent it to my mother-in-law, and my mother was like, thumbs up. We're like, because we thought
you don't even know who.
We thought it was the coolest thing ever, and she's like, thank you.
She's not going to think it's the coolest thing ever when I play it for every year for the rest of her life.
Yeah, that's the intent. Is he's going to do that? So we are on that. And then actually before we had Talk Like a Pirate Day, we went to the Maryland Ren Fest for Pirate Weekend. That was the 12th and 13th. We only went on Saturday. We went and made it through most of the day. It closes at 7 and we left around 4:30.
Yeah, we don't normally stay till closing.
No, it's because of traffic.
It's bad enough getting out of there.
And you drive 3 hours to get there. It's unfortunately not close, but it was a lot of fun. We had a good chunk of, we had crews with us. We had Bo, Mikey, Linda, and Tess. So the 6 of us went up. We got a hotel room. Hi, Linda. I was just talking about you. Your ears must have been ringing. Hi, Michael. Jordan. It was after 4. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. And it was still hell getting out of there.
Well, the worst part is they took a left and they were out in 15 minutes. We took a right and sat there for 45 minutes. It sucked, but well worth it. Not only was the fare awesome, but when you get 6 pirates together in a hotel room, the amount of alcohol that is around, there's no shortage of
rum was consumed and fun was had.
It's definitely there was mead. Yes. Oh, at the Ren Fair there was mead. It was bee stings. It's cider and mead, and I was actually having those. But you get us together. We know how to pirate. We make sure we shove food in each other's faces too.
And we saw lots of other friends.
Yeah, we were asleep by 9 p.m. We were tired. But like I said, we were also up early and drove 3 hours up there. So we go up for a day and then come back. So we had the party at Ren Fair and then we had an after party at the hotel with everybody. So it was awesome.
And then we crashed early.
Yep. And then
we're wusses. No, we're not.
It
was fun. It was a long. Anybody would have crashed.
And as Bo says, it was a 2-bedroom hotel room with a pull-out couch. So yes, we were all in. We're not all sleeping in one bed. Not all 6 of us were sharing a space. So
no,
don't get your dirty minds out of the gutter. Anyway. Speaking of sharing a bed,
we got new stuff too.
I was gonna say, speaking of sharing a bed,
how come we didn't bring the stickers out so we could show them off?
I could go do that real quick.
No,
okay.
No.
I thought about it and then I laid down.
Nobody cares. No, I'm just kidding. You probably wouldn't be able to see them anyway.
We're not going to make it tomorrow if you keep this shit up. So tomorrow is actually...
What's tomorrow?
Our anniversary.
Is it?
It's our anniversary. Ooh, pat. Yeah. So it's Ballas and mine's anniversary. We've been married. We'll be married for 16 years tomorrow.
Is that our first kiss on camera?
Possibly. We're normally beating each other up.
Yeah, poking each other in the eye and all that.
Yeah, and both said we started drinking at 9:30 in the morning. So
yeah, so
there is a lot of that.
Yeah.
But so this is actually the first time we have done a show on the week of our anniversary. Normally we're on vacations or we've done pre-recorded shows, which are on the channel if you're ever interested in going back. But, with the momentum from last week, we had such a good time, and we're just planning on taking it easy this weekend, maybe hang with friends. So, and what best to talk about cannons?
Yeah,
because we
As
love.
if you didn't notice,
cannons.
That might be what this show is about.
So sweet, we'll get a cavity. How much rum have you had, Linda?
Is she slurring her words?
No, she's talking. She goes talking a lot. She's being very interactive.
It's good. Interact.
She says
keep our chat room.
She says, "So sweet, we're gonna get cavity."
Alive.
She's like, not enough. But yeah, so that is tomorrow. We're gonna take it easy. We're gonna do some dinner. I don't know. I like laid back, easy for.
Me too.
Anniversaries, birthdays, and all that.
I like laid back and easy all the time.
Well, especially with as much as we were running around and being nonstop. It's the nonstop part. It's just like for crying out loud. So, but we're also keeping everybody in our thoughts down in Florida.
Yeah, because as of right now, that hurricane is
Cat 4.
probably making landfall either now or pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Right where we're about to be going down there in
the next 6 weeks. We got 2 trips down there, and that hurricane is coming right between
for both of them.
legs.
So it's making landfall in Panama City, and the storm surge for Cedar Key is supposed to be 15 to 20 feet.
Yeah.
So
we'll know tomorrow what is going to be going on maybe this weekend. We're hopeful.
We've been chatting back and forth with a couple of our friends. The Farrells are doing okay.
My sister is, because my sister's down in Ocala.
Her sister's doing okay. Everyone else is pretty much bailed out.
Well, the ones that haven't or who are still there are posting on Facebook too, which, as much as a lot of us don't like Facebook, it's really annoying just with that. I think the sheer fact of us being able to stay in touch with our friends, even just, doing a quick post saying, "Hey, I'm okay," without having to individually reach out it's a great thing.
On Messenger, on Messenger, being able to just shoot them a message and see how they're doing,
Yeah.
Which is good. So
I need my straw.
We're keeping them in our thoughts and hoping that everybody is okay.
And we're gonna keep texting everybody, double checking on them, making sure everybody is good. So that's why I'm kind of peeking at my phone.
That's the nice thing about doing a live show. We can bring you live updates.
Yeah, I'm popping on. I'm peeking because I'm seeing my messages come in. So retirement home party. I just saw that, Linda. We had a retirement home party. I'm going to get my wood straw real quick. So you want to talk about our new merch that we have been for at least the one.
We are working on a bunch of stuff.
Panama City. The one that's supposed to happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
2 weeks.
Yes. What's the festival called again?
The High Seas.
High Seas Pirate Festival is supposed to be in Panama City on October 10th. So we are hoping that Panama City doesn't get too much damage or enough damage to have to cancel that event. They're keeping us updated on it, and we are continuing to make merch for that event.
Working really, really, really hard, man.
I'm making flags, Deborah and signs, and Deborah is making vests and slops and all kinds of stuff. What you got there?
These are the stickers. Can you tell me what you?
I'll tell you when you're good. Your face. Don't put your face that close.
I'm not putting my face that close. So this is says well-behaved women rarely make history.
Yes, which is awesome sticker.
So it's got obviously a woman pirate.
We also have a T-shirt that has that on the back of it.
We do. And then we have new Jolly. These are ones we've had before, but we got more in of our Jolly Roger Parlay.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ballast wanted to get one. We call it our historical logo because this is what the flag that we fly. And
which is back here on the side.
This is a slightly different one because we actually took the Jolly Roger head and replaced it with a dead head on that one for just more parity.
Yeah, combining the other logo and that one together.
So I want one. Of course you do.
Which is funny about that logo, the historical one. It's one of those. I just came up with it real quick. I actually literally drew it on a napkin one day when we were sitting. No,
it wasn't even a napkin. It was just like this piece of brown paper you ripped off or something.
I was doing something in the kitchen. I was painting, I think, with the airbrush, and I had a piece of that brown paper that you use to keep paint from getting all over things.
That's right.
And I had it in my head. It just, and I drew it in like 5 minutes, and I thought it was kind of really cool.
No, so we got coasters up here with our logos on.
Yeah,
this sport.
We put it on everything.
Well, we're gonna be proud.
I try and get it put on everything.
Yeah, he does. He does
because I like it. I think it's cool.
It's on the trailer. So if you see this logo driving down the highway, guess who it is?
Honk at us.
No, please don't. But he's working on another flag right now, and when he's done with that one, he's going to work on some other larger ones for vending.
And I just finished burning a couple of signs. So.
And you're also working on what we're calling boat flags. They're 16 by 24, I think is the size. So they're smaller version boat flags from the large ones, which are 3 by 5. It's like almost half the size.
Half the size, half the price. They're a little bit bigger than that.
I would say they're actually kind of almost.
They're close. Anyway, they're a little bit bigger.
He's still working on the Calico Jack one. So maybe next week before we get on with Tucci, or when we're on with Tucci, we'll raise the flag because I'm excited about that because everybody loves the flags.
Hopefully, I'll have a couple of them done by then. I'm working on the Calico Jack one, and we've
Blackbeard, of course. Got to do Blackbeard.
Everybody loves Blackbeard. Mm-hmm. So we're doing the popular ones first, and then we're gonna move on to hopefully other stuff later.
And then I'm working.
Those are what I'm trying to get done for Panama City.
I finished a bunch of medium slops. They have pockets, and of course more vests. I'm realizing that we suck at keeping up with inventory over the year. So it's been a big push. I have no new vests. In fact, the only 2 new vests that I had before what I'm working on now is one because it didn't fit, so I had to make another one the right size. And then somebody didn't know what color they wanted, so I made that like 3 different colored vests in the one size, and it was one of the ones I didn't select. So those 2, and that was
well, gosh, between that and
that was February, I think.
Stuff we sold at Harvest Fair, we had to replenish a little bit too.
Well, we only sold one
and make
vest
up for the sizes
that
we didn't have.
That's a big part, yeah.
And what we're anticipating we're going to need for Florida, so
which is why we really, 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 really hope they're okay.
Yeah, we really don't want to have to skip this festival.
I'm looking forward to it.
It's the first time we've ever been to it, and we're really anticipating doing well at it. So
and I'm excited about going to a pirate festival to vend at. Harvest Fair really did well for our motivation and our egos because it's been hard over the last 6 years.
You know, us artists need an ego boost every once in a while.
The last 6 years, it's been difficult with just trying to sell because we are such a niche. We do well online. I love all you guys. You do so great with helping support us and getting our names out there, and we love that. But it's also nice to be able to go to a festival like that and sit there and people come in and see your stuff and want to buy it on the spot.
Yeah.
I don't mind custom work, but sometimes it's nice to
Getting-
have some time off, not making anything and still
Well,
selling shit.
That, and it's nice to hear the customers up front, tell us, give us their opinions on our
Our
garb
stuff,
and
yep.
our merchandise,
Mhm.
so we can improve it. We're always trying to improve it. Excuse me, that room's coming back to haunt me.
Oh yeah.
The kamikaze is crashing in my stomach.
Crash and burn. Shooter.
I'm surprised there's not smoke coming out of my mouth. It's
Robbie,
always nice
lay
to hear the
down.
customers' opinions on our stuff so we can improve it. And, we get that one-on-one with them, and we
Yeah.
can see what stuff they like and what they're buying and
we
make
don't-
more of it.
And we don't get that within Painted-Tree. That's the boutique that we started doing December last year. At the end of this year, we're going to pull out. But it was a great learning experience for those who are not really into piracy, like the pirate really, you guys are really in hardcore pirate, you get it, which is why we started doing the stickers and these different sticker designs and some of the t-shirts. That's how we figured out what.
I think there's two things about Painted-Tree that it didn't work in our favor. One of them is it's mostly middle-aged women that shop there.
Moms.
Soccer moms, middle-aged women that shop there. So that's not really our customer base.
We are men's focused,
right.
16, 17,
and don't get me wrong,
century.
there are men that go through there because we go in there all the time, obviously, to replenish our stock and all that.
Check on things.
And I see men in there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not the majority of the customer base that goes through there. So we'd have to really rejigger our inventory and our products to fit that environment, and I don't think that's
not why we started.
For what the amount of things we're selling in there, I don't think it's really gonna work.
But Parlay 8 became Parlay 8 because we saw a need for men's clothing. That's why Parlay 8 became a company. Why we started doing this.
It was us going to
Ren
fairs,
Maryland Ren Fair.
Going to Ren Fairs and seeing all the shops that you go into, they're all women's outfits and dresses and corsets and
there's maybe one or two men.
And all the men's stuff is kind of meh. Like they got frock coats and stuff, but they're meh.
I think we're starting to see more nowadays.
And they're not putting them out front. They're putting all the women's clothing out front because, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. And
it's very flashy.
Of course, having
we like
a corset and a nice dress on a mannequin out front, that's going to get the women are the ones that like to go in there and shop. So they're hitting up
guys
the customers.
Are like here, but I don't know. Don't take me in there.
We saw a niche.
Sorry.
What are you doing? I'm trying to talk over here.
I am interpreting what you
we
were
saw
saying.
A niche in the environment, and that's where we're going. We're trying to offer the men something, and hopefully, and it's, as far as the custom stuff is going, it's working. We get a lot of custom orders. We get flags, we get vests, we get kit, all that. So it's just selling it in person here in Richmond, not so much.
We need to find more, like I said, more pirate events. And the problem, lay down. And the problem with that is we don't want to do it with the events that we're reenacting at because of the whole discussion tonight. Cannons!
Yes.
Because it's very difficult to do both. So before we get into cannons!
Do you want to read it or do you want me to?
Come out to the NorCal Run Fair.
NorCal.
Yeah.
By NorCal, do you mean Northern California?
That's the one. That's the one Stephen Bunuelos was just at. Mikey, Party City type men stuff. Not all of them.
Yes, that's what we're trying to get people away from. To us to realize that there's more to life than Pirate City.
I would like to go visit the NorCal Ren Fair, and we're talking about doing some other fairs that are not in driving distance going to visit.
Yeah. If you guys can get us to California.
Cannons.
More
Yes,
power
Bo
to you.
says cannons.
All right,
Cannons. So,
cannons. We're talking cannons. You want me to read it?
go
All
ahead.
right. Before we get into this, we have to, because of the
People-
platform
And people are stupid.
because people are idiots.
Not you guys. We love you. Probably shouldn't say that when I
we
want
have
people,
a disclaimer. So
people like and subscribe. I'm calling it.
the views and opinions expressed during Pillage Overload are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policies or positions of any organization we may be affiliated with. This show for entertainment purposes only, and while we dive and strive into pirate history and lore, it's all in good fun. Viewer discretion is advised, especially if you're easily offended by cannon fire
or
rum-fueled banter.
hashtag drink more rum.
Thank you.
Another disclaimer too, I will say.
Speaking of rum,
we have no black powder in the house. Black powder is in a strong box away from everything, and
this cannon is a non-firing cannon. There is not even a touch hole in it.
And rum and cannons do
not mix.
We never mix. Let me reiterate it. We never mix
ever
rum and black fire. If we drink, we don't fire. That's it. Period. That's our crew. That's our crew stance.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. If there is one thing there is one rule that we follow, that is the number one.
Yeah.
That's at the top of the list. So let us start with that. And from here, have a good time and talk about cannons and all the fun that goes along with it.
There's a lot of behind it. So obviously when you see the demonstrations of the black powder cannons, you're seeing fire. I made fire. Shooter.
Fire.
That's what we're just going to call it.
So,
shooter. Yeah, both said
shooter.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it. It's funny. We were talking about this before the show started.
Cannon names.
We never actually named this cannon.
I think we did. We just don't remember because it's been on the shelf forever.
It might as well not have. Mm-hmm. It hasn't been named.
I agree.
So
yes,
I think
shooter.
Who said that?
Me.
Shooter.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fire
name of the cannon. So forevermore,
the non-firing shooter.
This cannon shall be called Shooter,
which works because if you watch on Jurassic Park when he's yelling shooter, and guess what they don't do? Shoot her. Guess what she doesn't do? Shoot.
She dies though.
She don't work with her shit.
And Joffrey died too.
But she's so pretty. Okay.
So there is no touch hole on this cannon. Mm-hmm. So it is an actual cast iron cannon. So let me tell you how heavy this thing is.
Let me tell you who moved it by themselves.
Yeah.
And we have two of these
because not only is the cannon cast iron, the axles are cast iron also.
Yeah.
So, and I'm gonna I made this carriage. I'm actually kind of proud of myself. Little background on it. My cousin, Kevin, who is in the Navy.
They gave us all the hardware when he gave us everything.
Did. My cousin is
this. That was part of the things he gave it.
He's in the Navy.
I'm going to have Thor's hammer. Come here. Let me give you a V8.
He gave me two. I actually have another one of these. They're twins, and it doesn't have a carriage or anything. It's just sitting on a shelf in the garage right now. But this one I built a carriage for because we were actually looking into having it sleeved because it's not sleeved. It can't fire. It doesn't have a touch hole. So
the reason why it can't be fired or sleeved, it is so pitted in the barrel down it. And even if we were to go clean it and smooth it out, to put a sleeve in there, it would be so thin that we're concerned it wouldn't survive the percussion of the black powder.
Yeah, the cast iron would end up being too thin. So it was just more safe not to do it. Yeah. So I just we're going to use it as a demonstration piece eventually. Because as you can see, it doesn't have the shackles or anything on it yet.
Bring it with us on Saturday.
We could. In fact, I was planning on doing that.
Okay.
Because making that stuff, I don't have the tools.
We need a blacksmith. We knows a blacksmith. We like the blacksmith.
Yes, we do.
It's not we like the
everything else I can make. And what's really cool about this is the wood on this is actually cedar, because when my cousin gave it to me, it actually had all the pieces for the carriage with it, but it wasn't.
It was in pieces.
It wasn't an 18th century style carriage, so I magically modified it and made it look like an 18th century carriage. And it is actually built the way a 18th century carriage is built. So these bolts on here actually go.
They're square head bolts too.
And they also go through. There's actually a bolt that goes all the way through to the bottom of the axle, which is actually how cannons were made that back then. Same with the front, and the back the front is bolted on the same way the back is bolted on.
And she's just sitting on top here.
And it's also got the wedge for raising and lowering it.
Which this man here is really good at aiming.
So, I thought it was pretty cool. And it's also the same going across. So the bolts you see in the front actually go all the way through and hold it together. Same with this bolt right here. It actually goes all the way through to the other side. And if you could actually, honestly, you could unbolt this whole thing and take it apart. So if you took the nuts off of all these pieces, the whole cannon carriage would come apart.
I wonder if Polaris would be able to sit on this thing. Long as Polaris is. So Polaris
this is probably a little bit bigger than Polaris.
It is longer than Polaris, but Polaris is Bo's cannon.
It depends on how the diameter of her trunnions. Yeah. So if her trunnions fit in these holes, I don't see why not.
And I will let her put into the chat why she named her cannon Polaris. Because most of the cannons, the naming, everybody has different names behind them. So we run Stumpy. Stumpy's one of the crew cannons, and I'm going to be bouncing around on this the way we're talking. So we run Stumpy. Stumpy is a bronze naval gun. It's I think like an 1/8 inch scale or something like that, with an 1.5 inch bore, which takes about 1 ounce black powder. That is the gun that me and Ballast both first ran Last Laugh, which is another gun, and they're considered rail guns because of how much smaller they are. This would be considered a rail gun. I mean, as big as this is, it's considered a railgun. It would be on the rail of a ship. The massive 9-pounders and bigger, or like the long 9 pub sign that we have, those are the large ones that are on the deck. But Stumpy, there's always a name. There's always a name behind a cannon, and Stumpy is named because Mr. Willis long-term borrowed it from Damon.
Mr. Tobin.
Because, and if you know Mr. Tobin, we tease him and like to call him short because he is. So Mr. Willis, when he long-term borrowed Davy Vane's Tobin's cannon, renamed it as Stumpy. And I'll let your imagination go. And
just let it run wild.
And Willis has Stumpy. And then Damon got a new. Willis replaced the cannon. Let me make sure I can say that he did replace the cannon.
Yes. So there are two.
They're identical guns.
Identical guns, and to the one that we just purchased and are having made.
Yes, and you heard that right.
Yes. We will have a cannon,
and we're not talking about her name yet either.
Eventually, it's going to be sitting on this bar.
She's being polished right now. She's getting all pretty to come home to mommy and daddy.
Yeah, she's getting polished. She's
I can't wait.
She's having a carriage made, and this weekend we're gonna go have
all the tools and the
fun stuff.
Yeah, but Damon's gun is Amity, and Amity. Reason why he calls it Amity is Amity was the ship that Thomas II captained. And if you know Damon, and when he does kind of his own thing, even before he came with the Loose Cannon Company, he goes out with the Thomas 2 logo. So kind of that's his persona. Dave Vane was with Thomas 2. So that's why he calls his gun Amity. And he actually has several guns. I don't remember the name of the gun. I wish he was on. The name of the gun that we fired in St. Augustine was the cannon, and we fired live ammunition on that. And we're going to talk about the difference between live ammunition and what we do. But Glenn says, was there ever a history of them blowing out of the carriage during actual use back in the day? Yes, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Bo says, following the true north and something to follow towards my goals, my family, and my crew. That is why she calls it Polaris. So there is a meme. He also said Thomas 1 and Thomas 2. That's it.
Oh,
Thank you,
Damon's
Bo.
on? Oh.
No, Bo, but that's not the big guy. Thomas 1 and Thomas 2, I think, is smaller cannons. Damon has 4 cannons. He has Amity, Thomas 1, Thomas 2, and I want to say Widowmaker, but I don't think that's right.
I don't remember.
But
if he was on the show tonight,
yeah,
he'd be able to tell
if he showed up, which I gave everybody in our crew like a 5-minute. I'm like, we're on 5. But Ballast and I first fired Last Laugh in 2019, obviously with the guidance and training of our crew. We were walked through, no alcohol.
Blackbeard Festival.
Blackbeard. And then we were mentored for about a year before we actually started to run a gun by ourselves. And that's when we started running Stumpy, and me and him. And we don't have to run this size gun with somebody. It's more of a convenience thing. It's nice. It's safety. You take your time in doing that. We have 7 people within our crew who run a gun regularly. And that's not saying we have other people who aren't trained, but Ballast and I run a gun. Bo and her husband run a gun, which I think is super cool. Hey. And then you got Damon Todd and Brownie, Mr. Brown. So Widowmaker is Andy's. Oh, thanks, Bo. Widowmaker is Andy's that doesn't fire too frequently.
Yeah.
It should be a Widowmaker. He's having
trouble with that cannon. Which is another story.
Yeah. But the difference between when I was talking about St. Augustine, we fire projectile, but on a normal basis, we do not.
We normally don't do that. We fire blanks.
Mm-hmm. And they're blanks of?
Well, they're they wrap them in tinfoil. And historically, they actually used cloth bags, and they would put powder in them and sew the bags closed. We don't do that now because cloth bags are a fire hazard.
Mm-hmm. Fire bad.
Yeah.
No.
So if you did,
like boom boom,
when you did that, of course, you could do that off the deck of a ship because you were surrounded by water. Mm-hmm. So whatever came out the end of the cannon went in the water, other than the cannonball. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't a problem on the ship. On land, more of a problem because we're firing in, normally in grassy areas and all that. Plus, it takes a lot longer to make up a charge in a cloth bag. So we use tinfoil,
and and it caused more soot.
Yeah,
it really gunks up the gun a lot faster.
Ask Broadside how he got his nickname.
Pirate names and cannon names are a winner.
So it would shoot a little ash and fireball out the end of it. Oof. And it landed however far away, and on land where we are as reenactors, that could start a fire, and we don't want that.
No.
So we wrap our charges in tinfoil.
It's actually a lot easier, quicker.
And when we shoot the tinfoil charge, it actually disintegrates basically and goes up in flames, and there's nothing left over that's flammable, which is nice. So it's just more efficient. It's easier to roll around. It's faster, and it's safer. Are you okay over
Sorry,
there?
I want to say I have a side.
You got it.
I have a side quest story. I'm really excited. I'm sorry. I'm excited tonight. No, But the tinfoil, when you're talking about disintegrates, obviously it doesn't all disintegrate because we sometimes have to pick up packets of tinfoil.
And we'll get into that later.
Yeah. But Bo.
What?
She's listed off a bunch of names.
Oh.
So tinfoil. My company is right down the road from Reynolds Wrap facility, the production. Hold on. Literally, we are.
You can almost throw a stone from her building and hit the Reynolds Wrap building.
So my office, we just bought the plot next to us and we're building another building for more we're expanding. Anyway, the guys went and did metal detecting on it, and he was telling me about how it was a pain in the ass to go metal detecting because apparently, I don't know, back in the 90s or 80s, there was a big explosion at the Reynolds facility, and it blew tinfoil everywhere. So guess what's in the soil? So yes, it disintegrates and you don't see it, but it's in the soil and it screws with your metal detecting.
Okay.
Like I said, sorry, side story, because I thought it was funny.
Hey, look, there's a perfect example of how it's it doesn't.
You don't
more
see it.
Safe.
It's safe.
Yeah. So when that explosion happened, I bet it didn't light the whole forest on fire. I bet it just landed on the ground and got buried and causes problems with his metal detectors. But anyway, it's not historically accurate, but it's safer, and it, being that
glitter. Yeah, Bo says it's glitter.
It's cannon glitter.
It's cannon glitter.
It's just safer, and yes, it's not historically accurate, but it's more efficient for us now. And being that we're mostly land pirates, it just makes it easier for reenactors.
Yeah, it's safer, and
so that's how we do the charges.
Safety first. So she was naming off the cannons, and she pulled it, but we got Stumpy, Last Laugh, and Little Willie. Those are Mr. Willis's.
Those are only Mr. Willis's.
Those are Mr. Willis's. Then you have Polaris, and Bo just bought another cannon, so she has hers. We have ours coming. Then you got Widowmaker, which is Andy's. Thomas 1, 2, and Amity. Those are 3 of Mr. Tobin's. And he has a 4th one. I can't remember the name of it. It's killing me. And then Captain has Surprise and Barker. And we're going to talk about some of those names later.
So this is
our crew.
Just our crew's cannons.
This is our crew's cannon. When we say we're loose cannons, baby, we're loose.
So
we like the boom boom.
When we call ourselves the Loose Cannon Company,
we are
not kidding.
Yeah.
So there's that. So now,
getting a little bit more into the background, we were talking about how we fired first in 2019. And actually, Bo, Tripod, was one of her first time firing a cannon too. And all 3 of us got inducted into the Order of St. Barbara together. And you guys heard me talk about it in the past on the show.
We have. If you guys have been paying attention.
If you've been paying attention.
At all to our show.
But basically being inducted means you went through a full drill of a cannon and you fired it. Sometimes they do an induction on those larger guns with somebody who comes and just fires it. Typically within our crew, we want you to go through the whole thing before.
Yeah. You have to earn it.
Yeah. It's a long-standing tradition within the pirate and the reenactment community that different organizations might do it a little bit different. And they say you're supposed to be smudged when you're getting inducted into the Order of St. Barbara, which is the patron saint of artillery. And we'll talk about her in a moment. When we say smudged or blessed, they take a wet sponge from the cannon you were firing and go, hello, nurse.
Yeah, nurse.
That's what they did me. Yeah, that's like right down here. Make sure it's all nice and dirty. And then they get it on here.
I got more of the hello. She got more of the nurse.
and it's the wet. And I'll turn it over to you to talk about the tools. Mm-hmm. But the sponge being a crucial part of making sure a cannon is operable is nasty after you fire that baby 3 or 4 times, and then it's like one of our favorite parts to do.
Speaking of sponges,
Sponge me, baby.
So yeah, I made some tools just to be able to show you guys how the cannon, how we operate the cannons and how we fire them. I only made one sponge. Normally you have two. You have a wet sponge and a dry sponge, but time constraints, and I didn't have enough dowels, so I actually made the sponge and the ram on one dowel, which we actually can have done before, and then I kind of just
It says it
fashioned
smells lovely, sulfur.
I fashioned together a worm. This is one of the tools for a cannoneer, and we're gonna go through these in a minute, and then we'll talk about how they all work.
These
I didn't
are
have
not
another dowel, so
actual.
I made a.
These are representations
Yes,
of the
these
tools.
are not actual tools. They are just for demonstration purposes only.
For tonight,
Because clearly this
is not safe.
Not gonna work as a normal
Normally our lens stocks are this long.
Normally a lens stock would be as long as the other tools that we have here, but I didn't have any more dowels, so I made it out of this little thing.
I love it,
which is so fun. Hi.
We're gonna use that demonstration at camp going forward.
So do you want me to run through this or?
Yeah, go ahead. I think first off, I love that he did this just for you guys tonight. All of these.
Yeah, and let me tell you what a pain in the ass it was to make that worm. That was actually a fairly straight piece of metal.
Look how good he did.
And
I'm
not a blacksmith. Let me preface this with the fact that I am not a blacksmith.
This is why we got a blacksmith friend.
I bent that with a vise, which was not fun.
We are working it. Bo says we are working this weekend. Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Is why
I'm going to learn how to do it for real this weekend. With an actual blacksmith.
And we're going to have tools for our
Because I have to cold bend this stuff. And let me tell you.
It's awful.
My 2-pound hammer got to work
Your
out.
dedication to this was fantastic. I came home and he's like, look. I'm like, you did all that. Okay.
So, all right. So,
on
to actually going through the drill of firing a cannon. Because there are actual steps.
And this is how our crew does it.
Right.
We should preface that. This is how we were trained and how we do it.
This is how we were trained in the Loose Cannon Company to run a cannon and go through a cannon drill. So obviously, this is your lens stock. This is my little bitty lens stock.
It's his little bitty lens stock with his
a smaller version. If you can picture this, I actually just okay. So we'll put that aside. The glue didn't stick.
Your ram.
Yeah.
I love you did, baby. You did great. I am so proud of you. I love that you did this for demonstration. It's so great.
So this is what is called a lens stock. This is what you put your slow match on. This is regular sisal rope, but normally this would be a cotton rope that would be dipped in.
It's normally black powder what they did back then.
Back then, yes. In the 18th century, they
share our recipe.
Yeah. Back in the 18th century, they would have dipped this in black powder.
Or whatever nitrates they had. And
yeah, whatever they had that was flammable, probably some kind of...
Because they wanted to go boom.
Oil or, something that would keep the rope burning for them while they were in between firing the cannon. So you would want to make sure this is lit, and it's going to create an ember that will stay lit on the end of the lens stock. So you would light this, make sure it's lit, put it in your... we normally have a stand that we keep our tools on.
Keep them clean and out of the dirt or whatever mess that we're in.
It's a stand that they all kind of lean on, and you have all your tools lined up.
Sorry. Steven says, don't look down the barrel to see if it's loaded. It's the first advice to give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, and I'm glad you brought that up, Steven, because that's actually one of the rules that we have. You never, when you have a cannon line, say, okay, you would have this cannon and 3 or 4 other cannons lined up on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
You never walk in front of them. You never, ever go in front of the barrel of the cannon.
Especially when we know they're if you're not even sure they're hot, and if they're in that line, just don't.
She or I may know that it's not hot and that it's been cleared, but you still never walk in front of the line on a cannon line.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the hard and fast rules, first off. So the lint stock obviously is for lighting off the charge in the cannon after you put it in there. So you would light this, make sure it stays lit. It actually slow burns. It burns slowly, so it should stay lit while you're running through your other part of the procedure. It doesn't make that noise.
I know it doesn't, but it's ooh.
It smells.
It smells like it's been burning.
It smells like sulfur.
It's just a side note from that. What's interesting is California, when we were out there for Long Beach Pirate Invasion, the crew that was doing it, their monkey boy was actually monkey wife. It was Justin's wife. She hangs on to the powder monkey. Yeah.
Yes.
She held on to the lint stocks. They were not near the cans. She actually brought them out when the guns were ready into that, which is different than what we do here. But I thought it was neat.
We're just going to go through how we were trying to do it. Like she said,
most of the bars are the price.
Like she said, in California, they do it a little different.
Which is fine.
Which is great. And it actually makes sense for the situation they were in and everything. So anyway, once you get your lint stock lit and your little ember burning on the end of your rope, and they actually make these ropes out of cotton. So it'll look a little bit different than that rope. Anyway.
Use your imagination. This is a representation. This is all a representation. It's not real.
So what we do is we'll run through a dry operation. So Mr. Tobin is normally the gentleman that runs the cannon line.
He's our safety officer. That's
right.
The word you're looking for.
He is our safety officer for the Loose Cannon Company. So Mr. Tobin will tell us to he'll have us go through a dry run. So basically what you're going to do, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to bring out your worm and you're going to clear the barrel. So this is going to go down the barrel, and this one is actually measured for this cannon because I actually measured it.
Most of the tools are made, not most, all tools are made, except lint stocks, are made specifically for the cannon barrel sizes because you need to have, this needs to be touching all the sides. You need to be able to get down to the bottom of that. So it's important that tools are made to the cannons.
So when he asks you to clear your weapon, this is what you're going to use. So this worm is set up that it has a little point on it, and it will go down, and you spin it around in a circle in the direction of the swirl, and you hold your hand on the end, but you keep your thumb out. That way, if there's anything in there and you accidentally create a spark, that you're not going to blow your thumb off.
And it'll immediately leave your hand.
Right. And it'll slide right out of your hand.
That's why
you don't want to put your thumb around it or out in front, because if it goes off, you're going to lose it.
And then you're going to be called Stumpy.
So you're going to clear it. You're going to take this out, and you're going to run your sponge.
And like you said, there's 2 sponges.
Normally there would be 2 sponges. So you would have a wet sponge, which if you ever watch cannon firing, they have a bucket that sits next to them. And they'll put the sponge in the bucket, get it wet, shake it off, run it down to the breech, clean it out, spin it around a couple times and pull it out. And then you go get your dry sponge and you do the same thing. You run it out and you dry off the tube.
And if your tool was made properly for your cannon and you have the great sponge,
yeah,
that's what it sounds like. when you pull that baby out. It
Yeah.
sounds woohoo.
And that's actually, you want to hear that sound.
Yeah, you do,
because
that
means you know your sponge is running
up and down your cannon.
is the right size.
There are so many dirty innuendos we could be talking about tonight with this. Pop goes the weasel.
So once you run your wet and dry sponge, you're ready for
your charge. And that's where the powder monkey comes in. So like with same thing what they did in California, we have two. We have a powder monkey who goes into the box, because we keep the charges away from the burning linstock or the candle that we have to light the linstock, and they'll go and open the box. And every time we go open the box, you yell, "Box open!" So everybody knows that
you have an open box
with lots of black powder in
in
there.
it.
So don't fire. And then when they're done, they close the box. And if Tess is around, then she breaks the box. So it's box open, box closed, box broken. Another story.
She'll be so happy.
Another time. She's not on tonight. That's her fault. So and by the way, we wear gloves. We are wearing gloves. We have welding gloves. Leather gloves are fine. It's just what we had found. So take charge, bring it to the person. I give it to him.
Hand it.
Touch the end.
It goes down the barrel.
Yep.
And then you take, which there's supposed to be a ram on the end, but it broke off. You take the ram.
He said, high smoke.
Put it down the barrel, and you
give it a nice good ram.
3 or 4 times. You bang
hard,
that
baby.
thing in there and
hit it hard.
Pack the shot nice and tight.
You pack it, baby. Pack it.
And then after that, you do what's called pricking and priming, which I didn't. I should have brought it. I had that.
The prime class.
Prick out there. So if this cannon had a touch hole on it, or a vent, what was called a vent.
But we like to say touch hole. We like to touch the hole.
You would do what's called pricking and priming. Shut up.
I like how dirty when we talk cannons. It's so much fun.
So you take a prick and you go down the vent hole and poke a hole in that charge. That way, when you prime the hole,
you put it into the hole.
You prime the hole.
It wants to go into the hole.
So what we call priming the hole is we actually have a little brass contraption that has a spring-loaded opening and closing valve on it, and we'll take that and dump a little bit of powder down the vent.
Mm-hmm.
That way the powder goes down the vent into the breech and touches the charge that you just put in there
that you broke open with
so you pricked it, you poked a hole in the charge for that primer to go down the hole and go and fill up the vent hole to the top, and then you leave a little mound on the top so that when you bring your linstock over and you're ready to fire.
Sorry, that was a lot on the mic on you guys.
And so when you go to fire, you want to stand off to the side.
Yeah, don't stand behind the bell. We never stand behind the bell because if something ever happens with this and the bell goes this way, you don't want to be in the path.
Not to mention that when you're normally doing this, the cannon is on the ground and it's below your face.
And keep
what
your
you don't
face.
Want is your face being over this vent hole, because this vent hole, if you see the way this cannon sits, it's diagonal. So a flame actually shoots out of the vent hole and comes this direction.
Any pictures that Bo has posted of any of us firing, there is a fire that comes out of the hole. It had Mexican the night before.
Is why we normally have a linstock that is this
longer,
length,
so we're nowhere near it.
So that when you put it up to it, you're standing, a good
distance
3
away.
or 4 feet away from it, because you're gonna extend your arm out also.
So
I know my arms are 3 feet long, so you got 3 feet plus the length of the linstock to be able to back you up away from this area, because if you're standing over the top of this, you're gonna get burnt.
Yep, and we've seen it. It's unfortunate.
So what you want to do with the linstock is you're gonna bring it, because remember back in the beginning we said we lit this,
smoldering.
Right?
It's smoldering.
This little piece is smoldering. So it's hot. It's like a little match, which is called what we call it, slow match. So you're gonna bring it over here, and you're gonna bring it down, and you're gonna touch the top of that pile of powder that you put on the
you're gonna
vent,
touch that hole.
and it's gonna go off, and bam, you get stuck right in the forehead by a linstock.
We also use fuses. It's not always with priming
Yeah.
powder. We do fuses when it's very windy. Steven says, "Did you buy the cannon dinner before at least?"
By the what?
Did you buy the cannon dinner at least?
The cannon dinner. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's the star of the show. We took him out before the show, got him all primed and ready to sit on the bar for us.
And Smoke goes, "Don't you touch that cannon hole. You should name it Holy Shit." And earlier he's like, "The cannon's name is something Wong." Bo says 48-inch long.
I love how you guys can't shut up while I'm talking.
But
anyway,
the wet sponge from what you did that drill for is what you come over and you bless them, and then you go, "Ha!" Actually, it's more like
sulfur. It's all full
it's black. It smells like sulfur, and it's lovely.
It's always the wet sponge, not the dry.
Yeah,
sponge.
It's wet. Normally, the dry, you'd like to see it come out somewhat clean. It's a little bit dirty because then you know
that's brand new. So
that's when you know your wet sponge is doing its job.
So there you go. That is a drill that you would run through with.
That's how we run through a drill.
Yeah, how we run through a drill firing a cannon.
Yep.
And then you do it, and then once it fires, you do it all over again because that worm is going to run down there. And sometimes when we were talking about how the charges that we do are tinfoil. The next round, that worm is extremely important because the worm goes down there, and the reason it's curved and it's got you can't see it, but it's actually got a point on the end of it. When it goes down in the breech, and you turn it, it pulls whatever's left, if there is anything, and a lot of times there actually is.
It's not all the time that all the aluminum foil comes out.
It'll turn around and grab whatever left in the breech and pull it out. Because sometimes the pieces of tinfoil stay in there.
It's 9 o'clock, but I would say we have a bunch of people still on.
It's already 9 o'clock.
Yeah, and we still have a lot to talk. So I think tonight we're going to extend the show a little bit because we do have a lot of fun stuff. I do want to talk about one of the other cannons.
We talk too much.
I know, we love it. And you guys chatting, I love it. Bo says 48-inch long is how long the dowel is. Smoke says this is so dirty when you're not watching and just listening. I bet it is. And this is why I love firing cannons. And then Steven says, is there a lot of recoil? There actually,
trust me, firing cannon is very dirty.
It is. And there is a lot of recoil. Most of the time when we fire, we're on sand. We don't have to worry about the recoil.
If you're on a ship, they had a whole scenario.
Well, that's what the rings here. The rings here on the side. And there's actually a ring in the back that the rope was tied to the side of the ship and came through. And actually, if you look at
they had
pulleys.
They had pulleys.
Yeah.
So they would string the rope up to this pulley would be mounted to the bulkhead on the ship, right? So when the cannon fired, it would recoil and come back, which is nice for them because a bigger version of this is really heavy. So you actually had guys, there weren't just two people running a cannon.
Not those. Ship. No, the main.
They had a whole crew.
Not the rail gun. The main guns on the deck. You had 4 or 5 people. Each one took a role.
Right. You had 2 people just specifically to pull the cannon forward.
And each one of these was a person. Not being used in the cannon, holding the tool.
A person specifically handing off the tools. A person loading the cannon.
Mm-hmm.
A person, doing all the routine, and then you had the powder monkey So once the cannon was loaded, they had, with the ropes strung up through these,
The eye bolts.
through the
Yeah.
eyeballs, and these
And then back
pulleys
here.
attached to the bulkhead. Two guys on the side would be pulling a rope and pulling the cannon forward to get it out the portal.
Yeah.
So there was, what we do running with two people is easy. What these guys did, you got to remember these cannons. This thing, I can barely lift this on my own. This little thing. Imagine, a 9-pounder or a 12-pounder. Those things are thousands of pounds.
A lot of crushed toes nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah. It took a whole lot of effort to get that thing out the portal.
I think we have one video on the channel. It's from Henricus Historical Park. I don't know if it's them firing the cannon or them doing their muskets, their matchlock muskets. I'm not sure which one it is. But you see them that each, you had a guy specifically wormed, one guy who specifically sponge, one guy who specifically loaded and rammed, and then another one who pricked primed. I mean, on the larger guns, everybody had their individual role. Right. And then
that's all you did.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything else but that, which is a good thing because it kept it streamlined, and everybody knew their job, and that's the only thing they did. That way they knew they were getting it done, and nobody else had to worry about it getting done but them.
And when we run the rail guns, let's just be realistic. These are rail guns that we run for reenactment. When Ballast and I do it, we have our different roles. He rams, I load, he'll worm, or I sponge. We split the roles up so we know prick and prime. When we get situated on the beach, because sometimes Damon likes to do fast drills, and it's very useful to know who's doing what, so we're keeping up with pace with what's going on. But the recoil part of it, when we do, there's still recoil on these smaller guns. Most of the times we fire on sand, but like Bo said, Blackbeard Pirate Festival is hard ground grass. We have recoil on that. We used to have recoil at Smith Mountain Lake when we were on the docks. I hate firing on docks. Yeah, I'm not a fan of firing on docks.
There are some times to where we have to chalk the back end of the cannon.
You do put something behind it.
And, one of the things I didn't go through on the procedure.
Yeah.
One of the things I didn't go through on the procedure is on a ship. Obviously, you're actually firing a projectile.
Role playing. Thanks, Mike. Mike said role playing.
Mike.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, he's like, role playing, of course you'd go there.
Right. On a ship, when they're actually firing a projectile, they have to aim it. So, and on this particular carriage, there is actually what they call the wedge. And this one has actually got that. So, part of what they would do when they were firing this cannon is that they would have to aim it up, and the wedge helps them up or down. Mm-hmm. So if you have the wedge at this position, you're going to be a little bit more horizontal. And if you bring it back, it's obviously going to bring it up. So it sits on this wedge so that when the cannon fires, it stays in this position. So if you pull it back or you push it forward, it'll obviously change the direction of the projectile.
It's the 18th century version of what they used to crank.
When we do it as reenactors, we don't have to worry about that. But if they were firing on a ship, that is actually something that they would do. And they had people that were pretty good at figuring out, the size of the cannon and how far it would fire as to where they needed to be when they fired again and to get it to go where they wanted it to go.
Stephen asked, what is the biggest size cannon we have seen fired? And I would think that was the equivalent of a howitzer in black powder.
Oh, we've seen a howitzer fired.
Yeah, but I'm talking about cannon. It was
like a black powder cannon?
Yeah, they're called howitzers for black powder.
Well, that was the company that made the cannon.
But it's the one actually they fired at days of it was the Henricus. One of the Henricus guns. It wasn't them, but it was one of the Civil War artillery groups when we went to go
it had
to
to
that
be
place.
a good 9-pounder, probably.
Probably a little bit bigger than that. Wait a minute. He said it was a pound of powder to fire that thing.
Oh, you're talking about when we were at the house?
Yeah,
yeah.
That was one of the
that
biggest.
Thing was a beast.
That was one of the biggest black powder cannons I think we have ever seen fired.
They had
he said a pound.
Like,
he said a pound, right?
A pound of powder, but I'm talking about the size of the
cannon.
I
know, but I'm just talking about for the reenactment size of it.
If you're loading a pound of powder per shot, you're firing a big cannon.
We fire an ounce. Most of these cannons are around an ounce.
These guys were firing 12 ounces.
It can't be bigger than our bore. What can't be bigger than our bore?
So, yeah, I would say that was probably between a 9 and 12 pounder.
That was insane. It was insane.
It was big. And if you've ever seen a 12-pound cannon, a 12-pound cannon is. I wish we.
I have that video. I need to.
We have pictures of the one that I stood next to when we were up in.
The tall ships in Illinois,
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin. But the cannon we're talking about with the pound, I have a video of it. I should post. I'll edit it. I'll get it on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, because it was loud.
Yeah, a pound. And here's the thing about a pound of powder. It's not cheap. A pound of powder is what, $36 now?
Yeah, it's almost $40 a shot.
Yeah. That's why like an ounce is not bad, because you get about, we'll say 14 shots, because you underpour on some of them. 14 shots safe. And at an event, we might have 2 firings on, if it's a 1-day event, well, mostly we have 2 firings, normally 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon.
If we're running normally we run like 4 cannons.
I'm just talking about single cannon right now. And we do 3 shots per show. So that's 6 shots a day. That's 12 shots a weekend. That's not even a pound. It's like just short of a pound a weekend. A weekend for us doing 4 demonstrations with the black powder. These guys, 1 shot.
Yeah. Boom.
Bo says hers is an 8.
There goes your weekend.
Bo says hers is an 8-pounder.
Really? It's that big?
So, but, it's insane. The amount, and obviously when we were looking at cannons, that's what we were trying to figure with what we wanted. Our cannon will run about maybe 1.25 ounces, but that's it. So we can have a pound of powder for the whole weekend.
Depending on who makes the shot.
Yeah, with Willis, it gets a little bit nervous. So when you become a cannoneer and you do the whole thing, we were talking about being inducted into the Order of St. Barbara. So who is St. Barbara? If you've been on the show, you've seen me talk about her before. Apparently on December 4th is the feast day of St. Barbara. I did not know that until we did this research. So guess what we're going to start celebrating? The Feast of St. Barbara. In fact, we should have our crew Christmas get together on that day because we are the loose cannons.
I thought about that actually when you said that. That's actually a cool idea.
It'd be awesome. And we remember every year. So the backstory between
Christmas.
The backstory to Barbara was her father was non-Catholic and she refused to renounce her Christianity. So Dioscorius, Greek name because he's Greek, flew into a rage and dragged her before the local prefect, who ordered her death because she would not renounce her faith. So her father tortured her to death, took her to High Mountain, where he eventually beheaded her.
How sweet.
That's a lovely story. Wasn't it like Daughter's Day a couple days ago on Facebook?
Keeping it in the family.
Yeah, apparently it's great. So afterward, as he descended the mountain, he was caught in a sudden storm and struck down by lightning. So he was scorched, and only thing that remained was his sword. So this is what they're saying was God's revenge. So obviously they're like, okay, ABC, this is what happened. This is why he died. So as a logical consequence,
1, 2, 3.
Barbara can be regarded as the saint and patroness of those in danger for thunderstorms, fire, explosions, and sudden death. And given the questionable reliability of these babies and misfires, muzzle bursts,
Careful, you can put dents in the cannon with that thing.
muzzle going at Glenn was asking this blowing and the detrimental of what this happened frequently.
So the rear end of a cannon is called the cascabel, and
Cascabel, Zanzibar. Yeah, I'm doing it right back at you.
So yeah, if the cascabel blew off the breech, yeah, you were effed.
Which is why we
that
talk
is
about
what killed pirates.
It killed anybody artillery, and they still.
And this is why, the Saint Barbara is so revered for cannoneers, because she's
supposed to protect over, and it's still talked about with the Marine Corps has a ball of Saint Barbara.
This is not 18th century stuff we're talking about. They still do today. Yeah, this is something that started a long time ago.
But it's still honored today with it's still honored with the branches. And like I said, the Marine Corps
long before piracy
has a ball every year in honor of her, and they do it on December 4th. That's how I was able to figure out. So they have the St. Barbara ball.
They take this stuff,
Parlay, the musical
stuff, for lack of a better word, very seriously.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before too. Is pirates were very spiritual and very what's the word I'm looking for?
Oh, I think spiritual and self-reverence and
there's a specific word I'm looking for, but it's not coming to me. But anyway, they believed in stuff like this. So
well, you got to think about it. Back at that time, you talk about the Roman gods, Greek gods, and it's just a bunch of just you just got with everything going on, like hurricanes. Like, why is this happening to us?
Right. It's better all the things like they don't let women on pirate ships and all that. So
yeah. Glenn says there's got to be mental fatigue over time. Absolutely.
For sure.
You start talking about and on these and even with us firing it, we fire 3 shots, I think, about as our limit during a 30-minute show. And even with the small arms, the guns get really hot, and you got to let them cool down. You got to let them cool down appropriately because of annealing and the other things when it comes to different materials. And that's brass, bronze, and stainless.
There's the trust in who's loading the shots, making sure that they're accurately
loaded appropriately.
Right. The appropriate amount.
Superstitions. That's what you were looking at.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you.
Bo to the rescue. Bo.
Sailors and pirates were very superstitious. So the Saint Barbara protecting them was a real thing. And they took it very seriously. But anyway, moving forward to that, you gotta put trust in the people that are making the shots up for these cannons, how they're getting loaded, that everything's being done properly.
It's trust
if it's not, that's what causes accidents. So when we're running, yes, these guns are not big. And the gun that we got is even smaller than this one.
It's a shorter barrel, but it's still got not big enough.
But I'm going to tell you right now, it will hurt you if you do not do this stuff correctly.
And I think
it will hurt you.
I think that's why I'm not a big gun fan. I was never a big gun fan because as a kid I did wrong.
My pistol. You got to be careful.
It's a respect for it. It's a respect for the science behind it. It's respect for understanding the technology back then. And I think that's why I appreciate it, because you have to take the time to respect it.
We do not play when it comes to this, to firing. Yeah.
So the other question that we hear of a lot is the legality of owning black powder. Now, the next couple things we're going to talk about is just stuff we've read. We're no way lawyers in understanding any of that. It's just, what we have heard, what we understood, some of the readings we done, and personal experiences on this. So, if you were to fly with a black powder weapon, pistols and all that, you still have to get a gun lockbox like you do a regular gun, regardless.
Yeah.
Airlines
don't play.
discriminate. They don't give a shit if it's an antique weapon or not. They want you to get a gun box. You have to lock it up and do that. What type of powder is used? We use which F? 4F or 2F? I always get it backwards.
I think cannons use 4F and the pistols use
3,
3F.
and we prime with 2.
Yeah.
So I think 4 is a bigger granules, and the smaller the number, the more fine, I think.
That I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah.
Yeah. So at the federal level with black powder, it's considered an antique weaponry. That's how the federal looks at it. And even with modern production, it still looks at the guns, the cannons, as a antique, even though it's made in modern times. So there is no the federal government in any way, they don't consider anything black powder, especially if it doesn't fire anything, as a firearm. This means that you can easily acquire a black powder gun without a background check and having it shipped directly to you. But there are caveats, because there are different permits you still have to get with different states. Statewide, you got federal, you got state, and everybody does state different. Like Hearn, who's out of, I think, Washington, ships their cannons in because it keeps it cheap, legality, permits and all that. They don't have a touch hole on their cannons. You have to do your own. There are other places within the United States who sell firearms, but they don't have touch holes in it. There's very few that will put touch holes in it.
She
Do
says
not
very few.
buy from Middlesex.
Middlesex.
Do not buy from Middlesex.
Ever. Don't buy anything from Middlesex.
Saying that from experience, I'm trying to save you all. I'm still waiting on my blunderbuss. I'm about to go on a year and a half. Anyway, sore subject. Anyway, so some states like Michigan do regulate black powder, which is insane. When I was reading about this, I was like, what? They look at it as firearms, so they have the same restrictions as modern firearms.
Reenactors in Michigan, thin on the ground.
Yeah, well, I mean, you talk about what... Yeah, I got you on that one. But still, it's just like, it's interesting how Michigan... they require...
Pure Michigan.
They require background checks. It cannot be shipped directly to the customer. Like, that's some of the reality of what you have to do with some of the states. Now, looking at that, we looked at the law of 4 states: Virginia, North Carolina, California, and North Carolina. Why?
You said North Carolina twice. You meant Florida.
Florida, thank you. Sorry. Why did we pick these 4?
Because 99% of the reenactors in the world reenact in those 4 states.
Yes. And we fire in 3 of those. And after being in Long Beach for California, I was very interested. And even the research I did it's so broad, because you got to start looking at the localities of what they were. And I wish I didn't even look at Oregon or where Bastard Bob is from, because he was talking about...
Good old Bastard Bob.
Wetzel. Frank Wetzel. Bastard Bob.
Gotta love that guy. He's cool.
He's the
coolest.
He's an order brother. But Virginia is actually, this is the one we're most familiar with. They treat these items as antique firearms, so they're not considered a regular firearm. And under state law, they're not under the same restrictions. That's why he has no problem when we do a lot of these events that he can carry his pistol out in the open.
Yeah. So, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Honestly.
The big ass gun on your hip.
Walk into
He goes, "Hey, ladies, that's a gun on my hip. I'm not just happy to see you."
I can walk
Sorry, I
into
didn't mean to.
a restaurant with my big ass naval pistol on
On
my
your that sucker's this big. No, maybe I'm
clip
high.
to the hip.
Sorry, it's this big.
How big is it? That's what she said.
But much like everything we were reading, it is unlawful to discharge these firearms in public in a manner that endangers others. Obviously, we would never do that. And, you know, it still falls under public safety and local noise ordinance with the black powder cannons.
Which those are the basic rules.
And there are a lot of those.
In most localities. So obviously when you're going to be firing a cannon somewhere, you need to check with whoever the word municipality.
Hey, here's an easier word.
Check with the city you're firing.
Here's an easier word. Local ordinance.
Yeah. Check with whatever city you're firing in to make sure you know the laws in that local area because they're different everywhere.
Yeah.
And though what she's talking about are the basic rules. You know, they're all those places are going to have those basic rules in place.
The other one is
you just got to get into the details of, you know, and a lot of the places we go, we get fire marshals on the scene, and they, you know, or whoever the person is that's in charge of that kind of thing in the place that we're at.
You have
they'll be there.
The short of it is you have to go and make sure that, at least within Virginia, that the noise regulations, the special permits to fire black powder weapons in a residential zone or public places.
Here's a good example. Bath. When we go to Bath, every year when we go to Bath, we fire weapons there. And every year there's a gentleman that comes through.
Oh, it's one of the law. It's one of the lawmen.
Yeah,
he's a lawman.
He just wants to come through and inspect our weapons, and he does it every year. We've gone there 3 years in a row now. I think he's done this. It's the same guy.
Years, yeah,
it's the same guy. He comes through and he looks at our weapons and he makes sure that everything's square, which is fine. We don't mind that. We actually want that. We do that ourselves.
It means they're paying attention and they care.
And we do that ourselves before we go fire our weapons anyway. But so it's not like it's a big deal. We just hand him over. He looks at him and he says, "Good, you guys are good to go." So because we always are.
Glenn asked, has any place you guys been to require a permit? No, because we're being invited there to reenact. We don't have to have a permit. What we do have to show is an insurance. We actually have an insurance policy specifically for black powder, not cheap.
Yeah.
For loose cannon, and it's Loose Cannon Company.
It covers the whole crew.
And it's based not just whole crew, it's based on event, and it's based on people firing. So we submit the names and all that. It used to be we did individual insurance, and then God, was it like 3-4 years ago? There was only one company that
covered reenactors,
and everybody used them. And we were at Yorktown Fire Division, and Saturday night, Sunday morning, we woke up, and I just happened to open up my phone to go through emails because of Parlay 8, and I saw this email saying black powder discontinued coverage as of midnight last night, and I'm like, we're firing cannons today. And I woke up and I go, Damon, we have a problem. We had to get the museum to cover, like, to say if anything happened, liability, they would cover, because as much as we try to be safe, there's always a danger. So our crew buys the insurance, not cheap, mind you, for us to cover, and we give all that stuff. So we are required to have insurance for a lot of these events. So Florida law is not that different from Virginia law, which is why it's so easy for us to fire cannons.
Yeah.
The added piece on that is that you have to have permission to fire on private property, and it's like one of those like, duh.
Yeah, clearly.
Do you need insurance for cannon firing for loss of a thumb? You need
Well, you want to have insurance
We
if you lose a
have
thumb.
insurance. Insurance is
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the loose cannon company is insured wherever we go. And we provide that to any event coordinator or any person that's in charge of an event that we're at.
Yep.
We provide all that
Yep.
stuff, and we have it all.
Yep.
So we're prepared.
We do that. North Carolina law, about the same.
Yeah.
That's like
Anywhere
Virginia,
we go,
North Carolina, and Florida is like the easiest states that we've
and that's
fired
mostly where we fire cannons at. So we're covered anywhere we go in those states.
California, from what we had talked with everybody out there when we were interacting with everybody, it's more jurisdiction based. You look at the antique firearm law and the discharge law on over the state base. It's pretty broad, like all the other states, but it's I think from just understanding with talking to people, it's more jurisdiction based. So, one of the cannon stories I did want to talk about real quick.
I wish you had a picture of this cannon too, because it was freaking cool.
I will share this picture on our Parlay page. In fact, you know what? I'll also post it in the boards on YouTube to share this. But Justin Vorhauer, who's also he's a member of the order, one of my brothers. His cannon name is Discodia, and Discodia was a wedding gift from Smudge. I don't know who Smudge is, but I'm guessing it's from one of the other pirates that he's friends with. The carriage design and color scheme was based on Castle Discodia from Stephen King's Dark Tower series. It is it is a cherry
it's beautiful
carriage, and his cannon is red, and there's a lot of angles and bends. It's supposed to be more natural and shoots like a dream, as he says. And he says, "All hail the Crimson King." So that was super cool. And the other pieces is that at Long Beach, that was one of the guns that fired Chaos's ashes. So if you guys have been watching, Chaos was one of the inductees with me. Also, Ballas and I knew her from a couple of years from
friend of ours,
Cedar Key. Really big into the boom booms. So, yeah. We already talked about Damon's Cannon Amity and Captain Surprise and Barker. Actually, Captain Surprise and Barker are 12 gauge shotgun shells in it. So he puts 12 gauge shotgun shells in the breech.
And let me tell you how loud those
which is why it's called
Oh my God.
Surprise and Barker. Those they're this big. They're this big.
And they're as loud as this thing would be if it fired.
But he takes a mallet and he beats it on the back, and it gets really loud. Do you get paid to fire cannons, or does Loose Cannon Company pay for events? It's a mix. We get invited to come to events to reenact and fire cannons. We've also gone to events where we volunteer our time.
Yeah, some events we get paid for, some we volunteer for.
Harvest 10. Well, he uses 10. That's right, 10 gauge to 12. Anyway, he uses a gauge shotgun. Harvest Fair, the one we did a couple weeks ago, we volunteer our time for. Cedar Key Pirate Invasion that we're talking about going to, we drive down, we volunteer our time for. We go down there to help raise money.
They help us out with certain things. Like sometimes they'll give us hotel rooms.
We get a room first down there because of how early and long we have to drive.
Things
down
like that. Yeah. We work out. It's a give and take situation. Yeah. You know, it depends on what it is and what what we ask for.
If you were to talk about some of the compensation for that versus what we would, because you got to think about what we bring to the table as a reenactment group. We have a cook, we got kitchen, we have textiles, we have weaponeers, carpenters. You know, we have all these different aspects of our crew that we're able to bring to living history, as well as the cannons. So we do have a daily rate.
You know, and what's nice about Loose Cannon Company is we're very self-sufficient. So like she was saying with the kitchen, we have our own kitchen. So of an event like Harvest Fair, and we bring our own food, and we have a kitchen, and we cook our own food on site.
We take care of ourselves.
When we camp, we camp.
Yep.
And we have our own kitchen, we have our own water, we have our own supplies, and everybody has their own dishes, and we do all of that for an event.
And we might
Not
have,
only that,
it might be in a little background,
on
might not
top
be
of-
historical, right? But we make it
on
look
top
good.
of shooting the cannons
Yeah.
and putting on the displays and teaching the public about the weapons and being pirates.
And sleeping in canvas.
Right. And sleeping in our tents all weekend. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
a full camping 18th century thing.
And that's the best part. That's my favorite part of the weekend. So, you know, the paid gigs are great because it supplies, you know, it pays for our food because we take care of the crew at these events, pays for the black powder for these, it pays for the insurance, it pays for the travel.
It pays for tires on the trailer.
It's most of the money that comes in.
Pays for us to be able to build
new
tents and make the flags and all that stupid crap that goes along with.
It's not, we don't do this to make a profit. It is nice when we do get some compensation to compensate for the things being done. But we're also in a heartbeat, like with Harvest Fair and Cedar Keep. We're going to be there to support our friends and for a cause that's worthy. So upcoming shows next week. Captain Jay Tucci is going to be coming on.
You guys need to show up for that because he's a lot of fun.
I think we're leaning towards talking about kids.
If you thought joking around with John Bauer was going to be fun, I think Tucci's going to be even more fun.
He has his own YouTube channel.
He has a great sense of humor, loves kids. We're going to be talking about the stuff that he does with kids. We're going to be talking about his YouTube channel. He's a talented dude.
We'll ignore the fact he's also an order member.
He's got an Etsy.
I swear we're not only picking order members. I swear we're not only picking order members. It just keeps happening that way.
That's because they're all great pirates. He's got an Etsy store. Multi-talented guy. Love him to death. He's really cool.
Yep.
And in fact, this little guy right here.
Oh, that tiki mug that he got you. Yes.
This guy was a gift from Mr. Tucci.
He was, when we were in California.
I love this thing.
So
I can't wait to drink some rum. I haven't even drank rum out of it yet.
Maybe
I'll have to break it out and use it as my mug.
You might. Week. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. And you should probably bring it to Cedar Key so you can drink it with it. Have a drink with him down there.
Because he's huge into the tiki culture. He's actually doing a really cool
tiki bar.
We might have to break out some pictures of the
tiles
that he's doing. He's making this really cool tiki bar where he's
memories,
laser printing tiles for the bar
he's
top.
Sharing memories, his favorite memories of
it's going to be really cool. So you guys got to show for that. He's a great guy.
That's next week. The week after that, we're not currently planning to be live because we're supposed to be going to Panama City Beach, Florida for vending for the High Seas Pirate event. Obviously, we'll see how things pan out after this weekend because
hopefully that's going to happen.
3 weeks after that, we're going to be at Cedar Key, going down there to fire cannons and support them on raising money. So we're up in the air. We'll see how it goes. But what is definite is November 11th, the weekend after Cedar Key, is the Yorktown Maritime Market. It's the one we do every fall. Instead of a one-day event, they're doing a 2-day event this year. And that's because they want to commemorate the Tea Party
that's just the loose cannon company is so great they want to keep us
Boston.
There 2 days.
No, it's because of Tea Party. That wasn't just in Boston. Which you definitely helped throw the tea in the water. You teabagged them. So we definitely know part of
I almost fell my ass in the
it is a labor of love.
Freaking water. The first time I did that.
Did you?
Yeah,
I'm glad you didn't tell me.
It was not long after I got my
our reenactment shoes. Oh.
And they had me go out.
Oh, that was the same year.
I'd never been on this boat before.
So I almost broke my leg in the fall, and you almost fell in the water in the spring. And
of course, Mr. Willis wants me to throw the bag in the water. So, and I'd never been on this boat before. My reenactment shoes were brand new. And anybody who's put on brand new reenactment shoes knows that they are slippery as mother.
That's why I got Lieutenant Dan because I almost broke my leg.
And I stepped on that thing and threw that tea in the water and almost fell right in with it. And she has her story. Yeah.
The spring when I almost broke my leg. But we're gonna save that for another night. We appreciate you guys for sticking around for the
because
extra.
our candles are almost dead.
Yeah,
so we gotta go.
I'm gonna ram this up you. We appreciate you guys sticking around for
That
another
rams for the cannon.
half hour, 40 minutes to talk about cannons because we love cannons. We're so excited about cannons, and we cannot wait to share our
And I
cannon
can't
with you
believe
when it
we
comes
stayed
in.
around for another half hour, 40 minutes.
I mean, we have 10 people on. You guys,
Hi, guys.
You guys have stayed on.
Hey,
awesome. Thank you.
Seriously, thank you for sticking around. Really, we were like 40 minutes late going here.
I didn't think.
Look at us go.
Cannons. Who doesn't love cannons?
And you were tired, and I was tired.
I'm still tired. It's been a long week. But
it's been a very long week.
Stay tuned. Make sure
month.
If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It does do. And we're not.
We love you guys.
We're not looking for the world, but we do like seeing the subscriber. We got 10 new subscribers after that week with John Bauer. So super
how about
happy.
10 more? Come on,
bring us 10 more. Share
Bring
with
your
friends. We love you guys. I mean, where we started years ago to this, it's just still amazing that we got you. But please continue to stick around.
Right, because we're not making any money doing this.
No,
we do it for
we do
fun.
it as Steven says.
Because we love you.
It's a labor of love.
It is.
What we do with reenactment, and this is a labor of love.
Good Lord, that must be. We couldn't want to kept going doing this.
But until next week. Chime in. We got Steel Drum next week. We have Tucci next week. We'll have a lot of fun. We want your interaction.
Please
come love back. You guys. Thank you so much.
And end it with
as there always. Hey, Sonny boy.
Are you seriously?
He just chimed in. He's like, "Hey, folks, just sitting watching this."
Yeah.
We're signing
off.
To end
the show,
we're signing off, Sonny boy. I'm glad you joined in. I'm still trying to figure out how to get in the app.
Thank you,
we'll
but
get
we
there.
are leaving.
Until next week, guys, we love you. And as always, # drink more rum. Good night.